Hello everyone, it's Jamal and Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Let me check my sound. I always check the sound. Hope everyone is doing okay this morning. Can't sleep. Like all real men that can't sleep. I just do the news. Alright, so first, I want to thank everybody for your support, for everything that you've done for the channel, be it assisting with sending me stuff. I mean, I get people sending me stuff all the time where they would say, hey, take a look at this link. There's a video of Ed Schultz that Shwari Cake just sent me that I'm going to use that for a clip because I think that's an amazing prescient clip by Ed Schultz. Not to mention it's an awesome differential between what we have as media versus who Ed was. I was going to do it on this one, but I had already queued up this one, so I'm going to do this one first. So, Chuck Schumer in an intercept said he's spoiling for a fight. Now, he's essentially pushed down the gauntlet. He's thrown it down. And he's apparently, according to Ryan Grimm, warned the other Democrats that there will be hell to pay. There will be hell to pay if you don't put up a fight like your life depended on it for this Supreme Court nomination pick. Meaning, in the same way that some of those turncoats, six worthless turncoats, worms, against, you can say, humanity and society, voted for that knuckle dragger Gersh and put him in that office. If they do the same, Chuck Schumer has gotten across to them that they will be not forgiven for such a thing. Look, I'm not a Democrat. By the same token, I understand that there are certain things in the world that I would prefer to be versus things that I would not to be. Abortions is something I would prefer to have in the world. I would prefer women to have access to safe abortions. But it goes beyond that. Even go into worker law and everything else. This guy is a knuckle dragger, to say the least. And the last thing I want is him put on the Supreme Court for 30, 40 years. Mind you, missing this point that they stole the seat. They stole the seat. It's not their seat. The seat that Gersh is in, that was supposed to be Merrick Garland's seat. I give it to you that Trump won the nomination, meaning this pick is his pick, but Trump already got a pick. Trump wasn't supposed to get that pick. The person who was supposed to be sitting in the seat the very first time was Merrick Garland. That first seat was stolen. Democrats put up the argument of, oh, we need non-justices, because if you remember, Republicans were making this argument that who needs the Supreme Court? That was their argument. Who needs the Supreme Court? We can go by with 8. I mean, if it's going to be one of these things where Hillary Clinton takes over, we can let it die on the vine. Who needs the Supreme Court? This is where they were. This is where they were. They assumed that Hillary Clinton was going to win that race. Democrats did too. And as such, maybe they didn't fight as hard as they should have in order to make sure that that moderate got on the Supreme Court. But nonetheless, we have Gersh. Look, they said that they were releasing this anonymously. I don't think they were releasing anything anonymously. I think Chuck Schumer laid down the law and he wanted people to know that he laid down the law. That's assuming he laid down the law at all. For all I know, Chuck Schumer just sent somebody out there and said, tell the press this. Who knows? I don't know. I would say, though, that from the standpoint of Democrats and political wisdom, if it was me, and if I were a Democrat, I would have great issues with them putting Gersh in, or at the very least anybody that voted for Gersh, let alone the next one who's coming behind, Brett Kavanaugh. Now, Trump is selecting this guy from, Federalists and all this other stuff. I gotta be honest, I don't care where Trump selected this guy from. He wasn't supposed to have the seat at all. For me, the conversation stops there. That seat was stolen. That seat is not yours, buddy. The last guy who wasn't supposed to be in that seat. You can make the argument that Gersh is supposed to be in this particular seat. But this is a bridge too far. Do you have a spine or not? If there is any Democrat that votes for this guy, for Brett Kavanaugh, they should immediately be recalled. It shouldn't even be a question. They should lose their seat. If you're going to sit there and make a vote against Roe versus Wade, for all intents and purposes, whether it's Joe Manchin, Heidi Heitkamp, that worthless turncoat of a worm tester, not Tester, I'm sorry, Doug, what Tester is bad too, but Doug Jones, the one who barely beat a pedophile, if it's one of them, they should lose their seats. You're utterly worthless if you can't protect a woman's rights to choose. If you as a Democrat, at the very, very basic least, can't defend that, where's your spine? Why does Chuck Schumer have to rally you in this way? Why doesn't it just dig in you when you wake up in the morning, stole my seat? When you go to bed at night, they stole my fucking seat. Why are you so weak? Maybe that's what I'm getting at. Why are you so weak? So utterly, completely, unimaginably, incomprehensibly weak. I think Chuck Schumer is right about that. I think there will be a consequence if they're so weak that they don't, if they fall in line, meaning they don't fall in line. Now the question becomes, do they really want to resist? And that's when it gets interesting. Now, I want to show you a piece in The Intercept, and I want to show you another piece where the person kind of tackles that idea of what Democrats can do if they really mean it. If they really mean it. Meaning, we're willing to bleed on the flag. We're willing to slit our wrists in the middle of Congress in order to stop this person. One after the next. And then when we run out of Democrats, we go to our aides. I'm talking about really mean it. Now, the guy from Naked Capitalism gave an analysis based on the Constitution of what the Democrats can do to try to stop this. But it is scorched earth, by all means. Personally, I severely doubt Democrats have it in them. What their plan is, up to this point, is to make an argument directly at Brett Kavanaugh. They're going to make him out to be, Satan incarnate. Essentially, Donald Trump is Lucifer, and this one is Lucifer's son-in-law. That Donald Trump is essentially finding people on the list of rogues galleries or us in order to put into the Supreme Court seats. Now, this may work. The goal of this is to get the female. Here's the thing. The split on the Supreme Court is very narrow. I think it's like 51-49. Now, John McCain has brain cancer. So John McCain may not necessarily be able to drag his carcass in to make that vote. If John McCain can't drag his decaying carcass in to make that vote, then ultimately you have essentially 50-49. Those are razor-thin margins. That means Republicans need to keep everybody on board. If Republicans even lose one, then they have problems. If they lose two, they definitely have problems. Now, if Democrats are making an argument where they're trying to go at this thing of, Murkowski, there's the woman that they consider a moderate, for whatever reason they consider her a moderate. But at the very least, she's a woman and she cares about reproductive health to a degree. She doesn't care that much about it, but she cares about it to a degree. She wouldn't be a Republican if she did. But she says she's not going to vote anybody in that's going to get rid of Roe versus Wade. Well, that's interesting because anybody that Donald Trump puts up is going to get rid of Roe versus Wade. So does that mean you're going to vote down each and every person that he puts up? Ben Kavanaugh, regardless of what he's going to tell you when he gets on that bench, he's going to cut Roe versus Wade. I'm just saying. Now the question is, can Democrats make the argument sufficiently enough to overcome whatever it is she believes it's her to be a Republican? Can they make it? Now, assuming though they can't make that argument, assuming that she falls off, maybe she don't. Maybe you get a whole lot of people who are pissed off and they target her specifically and directly and they bug the shit out of her enough to say, okay, fine, you got me. I can't vote for this person for then maybe that strategy would work. You never know. They're trying to target strategy. This idea of this guy is a monster. This guy has horns. He's using a hairpiece to cover his horns. He has a tail. You never see him, or you never see a picture of him standing from behind. That may work. Here's another strategy, however, that naked capitalism has that's very interesting. Let me read this part at the very least first, and I want to read the bottom, and then I want to go to naked capitalism's article. Chuck Schumer warns Senate Democrat fight Brett Kavanaugh or pay the price from the base. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is warning Democrats in the chamber that if they don't put up a brutal fight over the next Supreme Court justice, they will be held to pay from the Democratic base, according to senior Senate aides briefed on Schumer's message. Democratic leadership's response in the 2 weeks since Justice Anthony Kennedy announced his retirement has been in stark contrast to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's firm across-the-board rejection of any Obama nominee sent up in 2016. McConnell, flexing the power of a majority leader, announced within an hour of the news of the February 2016 death of Anthony Scalia that under no circumstances would the Senate consider a nominee before the November election. But shortly after Kennedy announced his retirement on 27th, Senator Blumenthal, a Democrat from Connecticut, said that the Senate should do nothing to artificially delay the nomination, a public pronouncement of good faith that was celebrated by Republican and condemned swiftly by Democratic activists. How embarrassing! How utterly embarrassing! Oh, how weak. They call you cucks for reasons. Take the cock out your mouth. I mean, this is utterly embarrassing. They stole your... Why do you fucking have to explain this to you? They stole your seat. They stole your seat. They took your seat. They're eating your seat for lunch. They've been annihilating labor with your seat. That's what they did to you. And your response to the reverse scenario is, hey, we're happy to look at who you put up. We're happy to look up who. How sad. How sad. Shame on you. Shame on you, sir. Blumenthal quickly keened up his statement, saying that a deliberate process to confirm any nominee would necessitate the Senate until beyond the November elections. Since then, an organized effort to pressure Senate Democrats has conveyed the stakes for refusing to do so. Understand, though, all of this backs up my argument of the solidarity of no. It's not that they all that much have pride, per se. Shame is not necessarily part of this process. Schumer's response is, you may get kicked out. Crowley got taken out of his seat. Don't think you can't be next. It's fear. It's this idea that you may lose. That's the ever-pressing fear that I try to get across from this idea of solidarity of no. As long as they think they can win that seat, as long as they think that they have nothing else to lose, then they're going to behave in the way that they behave. If they believe that they can lose in a primary because of the level of weakness that they were showing, then they will behave differently. Solidarity of no. Chuck Schumer is terrified that these people are going to lose their seat. And he's telling him, hey, I need you to be brave for once in your life. Once in your spineless life as a Democrat. What the fierce opposition will look like and how broad it would be remains to be seen, as Schumer lacks the full authority of the Senate that McConnell wielded in 2016. But as a major political party that's 2 seats shy of the majority, Democrats are not all powerless, as they sometimes let on. Schumer told colleagues that reviving complaints about Garland process will be ineffective, referring to Republicans' refusal to consider Barack Obama. Let me postulate something. I've said before, in a political context, right and wrong doesn't exist. Right and wrong doesn't exist, but especially in a political context. What matters more and what more important is, what do you want to accomplish? And what the fig leaf is, the fig leaf that you create in order to cover your actions, is the thing that's more important. The fig leaf. Oftentimes, people will do things, and if there is no political consequence, I'm saying this poorly. When Republicans stole the seat from Barack Obama, there was no political consequence for that. They stole the seat. It created political eddies, yes. It radicalized some elements of the Democratic Party, yes. But the Democratic Party status quo still confirmed still confirmed Gorish. No issue. That's embarrassing. They did it anyway. Now, in this case, they're saying we need to fight like hell to do so. Okay, that's great. You're going to fight like hell to do so now. My point here is, it's not enough to just fight like hell now. If you win the Senate back in the next turnaround, the 2018, you shouldn't confirm it at all. You should let that Supreme Court die on the vine unless you're going to get a president that's favorable to you. There's no consequence for this. There was no consequence for the Republican Party. They cried and bitched and moaned about it. Let them cry and bitch and moan about it in the same way that they cried and bitched and moaned about it with you. Let that Supreme Court sit on ice for years. Fuck them. That's where I'm at. That's where the Democratic Party should be at. It shouldn't be this thing that we're going to put them on ice for a little bit of time. They stole your pick. I don't know why that doesn't bother you. I don't know why that doesn't dig into you. When you get up in the morning, that's what you're thinking about. When you go to bed at night, that's what you should be thinking about. And right now, they're about to eat your lunch again. How demoralizing. How completely and utterly demoralizing. And you are going to confirm this guy. Chuck Schumer has to actually rally the troops to get them to actually stand up and represent anything, even the people who vote for them, who's still in that burning house of a party. It's the part I want to get to. They're going to focus on Murkowski. Okay, I was right. Collins and Murkowski support legal abortion, a constitutional right long upheld by the Supreme Court, but that Trump has pledged to overturn by appointing justices who want to criminalize abortion. The Federalist Society screened Supreme Court applicants for Trump with overturning Roe v. Wade in mind, so there's little mystery where Kavanaugh stands. That's their attack. That's what they're going to try to do. Elizabeth Warren. Brett Kavanaugh's record as a judge and a lawyer is clear, hostile to health care for millions, opposed to CFFB and corporate accountability, thinks presidents like Trump are above the law, and conservatives are confident that he would overturn Roe v. Wade. I'm voting no. That's going to be their attack. They're going to try to get the other two Democrats. For Democrats to put up a united opposition, Schumer would have to corral Senator Donnelly of Indiana, Manchin of West Virginia, Tester of Montana, Heidkamp of North Dakota, Claire McCaskill of Missouri, and all of whom face re-election in November in states won by Trump and who are accustomed to having free reign. Heidkamp, Donnelly, and Manchin all voted to confirm Gorish. You goddamn turncoats. You goddamn turncoats. Look at what he's done to labor. Look at what he's done to labor. That vote is on your conscience. Recent confirmation fights have not been impressive displays of unity opposition. 6 Democrats joined 48 Republicans to confirm torturer Bloody Gina Haspel as CIA director, despite her role in advocating for and overseeing torture at the CIA, as well as her refusal to declassify or otherwise share documents related to her record, including destroying the records that showed her torturing human beings. 7 Democrat senators similarly voted to confirm Mike Pompeo, Trump's hawkish pick for Secretary of State after he fired Rex Tillerson from his job. Wow. Resistance. Look at that resistance. Pressure will be on Collins and Murkowski only as long as Democrats stay united, either in opposition or at least not in their support of Trump's pick, producing something of a stark contrast between two sides. Given the 1-vote margin, the minute that a red state Democrat signals support for Kavanaugh, a decision by Collins or Murkowski becomes less important, meaning all of them need to be united for anything. Meaning, if Chuck Schumer goes with the plan that he's going with, he requires each and every one of the Democrats to stand in solidarity and in line. They stole your pick. Why does he have to push you to that? If you can't defend Roe versus Wade, you're worthless to me. I would argue you're worthless to the other Democrats also. I'm just saying. You should be replaced in your seat if you vote for any of these guys. Activists have suggested to Democratic leaders that the party walk out of the committee hearing in protest or refuse to show up. Neither tactic could on its own block Kavanaugh, but it would give a spotlight on how radical the nominee and dire the situation is. Given the extremism of the nominee, argue the activists, the process can't be normalized. Now this is where it gets interesting. The party's leadership may have decided to fight Kavanaugh's nomination, but what it will look like in practice is uncertain. A spokesman for Schumer declined to preview what the battle might look like. Privately, Schumer aides have cautioned the other Democrats that there is no secret weapon a party in the minority can pull out. Schumer's aides have warned that if senators attempt to deny quorum at the Senate floor, rules would allow Republicans to pass legislation by unanimous consent until a Democrat arrived to object. Essentially, we're going to fight as hard as we can, but we're bent over a barrel with our pants down, our legs open, balls in the wind. Now, here's the interesting part. Naked capitalism. How to block the Trump nomination, shut down the Senate. Shut it down entirely. I find this interesting. I love this. They're never going to do this. They're never going to do it. But God, man. And by the way, if they did, I would be on this show giving accolades. Wow, look at this. They're actually fighting for something. Let's take a look. How to block the nomination. This strategy, which I'm convinced will work, comes via Vox writer Gregory Kroger. It goes like this. According to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 5, each house shall be the judge of elections, returns, and qualifications of his own members, and majority of each should constitute a quorum to do business. This means neither house of Congress can do business without a quorum defined as a simple majority. What if a majority is not present? Section 5 continues. A smaller number may adjourn from day to day and may be authorized to compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as each house may provide. This means if no majority present, the minority can compel absent members to attend. But how? There's no answer. And in fact, nowhere in our government is there a mechanism but shame for compelling congressional attendance. This gives Democrats or Republicans, for that matter, all power they need, assuming the numbers work out right. Now, this is where it gets interesting. But look at the current Senate. There are 46 Democrats, 2 independents who caucus as Democrats, and 52 Republicans. This is 51 now, because there's one less. That half-breed, what's his name, from Alabama, one that beat a pedophile. Yet, one of the Republicans, John McCain, may never attend another Senate session due to his health. That puts the partisan split at 51-48. Actually, it's 50-49. As Kroger notes, other than quitting for the day or calling others to come to chamber, the Senate can do nothing without a majority of its members. 51 senators participating in a vote. No bill can pass, no amendment can be decided, and no nominations can get approved. In other words, every Republican senator would have to appear for every vote from which Democrats were wholly absent, or no vote can be taken. Every one of them. Democrats could essentially challenge the vote for lack of quorum, then leave during the quorum call. Shutting down the Senate. If the plan for Democrats were to be absent en masse just for the vote on Trump's court nominee, the plan would fail. On the day of the vote, 51 Republican senators would show up and vote yes, and the nomination would be confirmed. This is what Chuck Schumer was saying. Well, 50, if they do this specifically for this, it would fail. But his point goes beyond this. His point is shut down the Senate entirely. Nothing passes. Nothing passes. But if Democratic senators were absent en masse from one day of the decision to do it, if all 48 Democrats and independent senators refused to enter the chamber for any vote at all, it would paralyze the Senate. Every vote of the Senate, from the most important to the least, will require every Republican to be president to ensure passage. In the ideal world, this isn't a problem, since they are, just barely, a quorum's worth of Republican senators. In the real world, however, there is almost never a day in which every senator is present for a vote. Democrats could even force a quorum call at any time they wanted on a simple procedure vote, forcing Republicans to be nearby and available at a moment's notice. When would they fundraise? When would they meet their lobbyists? It's almost certain Republicans couldn't conduct Senate business under those conditions. They would put Democrats in a position of unblockable power until a future election changed the numbers. They could force, not ask, but force the nomination to wait until the 2018 election. All they'd have to do is to want it. I'm fascinated by that one, but I don't know if that would work. So, if you're looking for an answer on how to potentially block them, that's the best they got. That's the only thing that I've come across. Shut down the entire Senate. Bring it all to a halt. Bring it all to a halt. Essentially, play the games that Republicans played. Because guess what? If the roles were reversed, Republicans would do the exact same thing. If they put a bomb in space, you need to put a bomb in space. So, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Google Goodman Pacifica lawsuit. Goodman. I hope they do it. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. I promise you, they're not going to do it. Yeah, they're not going to do it. It would be insane, but I love to see at least fight. Me too! Me too! Chuck E. Cheese, agreed, me too. I would love to see them do that. Can you imagine the media with their thumb in their ass? Oh my God, what are these Democrats doing? But their base, the people who've left them, those people would be like, yes, they're doing something. Oh my God, look at this. They're taking political action. We don't know what this looks like. We've never seen this before. And just like the Grinch that stole Christmas, in each of them, a little thing that they didn't know existed, that they had all long forgot, would start to grow, and they'd be like, what is this feeling? It feels like I'm representing something. Oh, it hurts. It hurts. It hurts. But oh, it feels so good. It would be an amazing thing to watch. It would be an amazing thing to watch. Kavanaugh is the only one to dissent during the case with the illegal alien who wanted an abortion. He wrote she had a right to choose according to the law. Kathleen Cohn. He might have been following legal precedent. Doesn't necessarily mean he won't necessarily change the legal precedent if the case comes up. And I don't know why you trust it. I mean, I understand your point, but why would you trust it? Donald Trump has explicitly said that the person he's putting on that bench is going to get rid of Roe versus Wade. And he is now explicitly putting somebody on the bench that he pulled from his list of people. Why would you trust it? I take him at his word. Why should the Democrats bother? What are people going to do? Vote for Trump and not Clinton? You're saying, why should they bother doing anything about this particular case? I mean, about Kavanaugh? I think if they care about their seats, that I do think they care about. And you guys are fighting. All right, I'm going to end this because I have another one that I want to show. I love it. My right wingers and my lefties are fighting. That's awesome. All right, I'm going to end this. I have another video after this that I want to do, and that's probably going to be my last video because I am fading fast. But I want to hop across the pond before, what's 4 o'clock in the morning. I was going to say before it gets too late, but we're already past that. So I will see you guys shortly, about 10 minutes or so. I just want to go to the next story. All right, guys. Thank you, everyone. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, as always, Patreon. Thanks, everyone.